All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm wondering if Penny, do you want to do roll call and we can go ahead and get started?
Sure can. So we already know Commissioner Lance, he RSVP'd, he wasn't going to be able to make it. So, Carla Reynolds. Okay, mark her no. Joe, BCU.
And Joe is also a no, Penny.
Okay. We obviously see Alana is here with us. Kara Beer. Okay. Nate, I can see you're in here, right?
Yep, I'm with you.
Perfect. Vester.
Here.
Perfect. Kelly Scott. No Kelly today. TR was obviously a no as well because he did let us know that. And then Amy, I think I saw her in here too.
I am here. Thank you.
Perfect. That's the voting members of your list. You have 3 here.
So, Penny, so technically we don't have quorum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we'll basically it will skip the approving our previous minutes until the next meeting, and then why don't we move right into old business and new business? I think these are mostly updates. Does that work for you, Phil?
Yeah, I don't believe there's any old business unless anybody had any for us.
Nope.
Now
Okay.
I'll share my other screen and we can hop right into the presentation. All right, famous words. Can everybody see my screen? Make sure it's there. How about
Yes.
that?
Yep, see it.
All right, perfect. So thank you everybody for coming. I'm sorry, I know it's the holidays. Everybody's busy getting last second things done here. But what I plan on going over today was going through some of the newer updates that we had going through. We're currently kind of in the final stages of an MDOT multimodal electrification process. So I'll go over that. We did put in just the other day on Friday, or really Thursday, the deadline was Friday, for some more competitive grants. So I'll go over those. And then I'll go over kind of some, pretty significant things that took place at the airport here in 2023, and then really give everybody an outlook for 2024. So really what we're planning on currently seeing in 2024. And then those are obviously subject to change, but these are really some pillars that are going to take place in 2024 for us to build off of. And then there'll obviously be some more things that we're not planning on happening, but we're excited for what's to come in 2024. And then we'll have some comments and questions for everybody at the end there. At any time, if you need to stop me, just let me know. But I'll ask for questions along the way as well. I believe at the time he was the operations manager. Miles took this picture a couple years ago. So we are in the dreaded 4-letter word time of year here at the airport. So the crews do a great job of keeping the airfield open. I use the analogy of just like a city and city streets here at the airport. Same thing. We have lights, signs, markings, pavement that we need to keep open, just like you would see here in your towns or cities or all over the world that you see. So it's a very, I'd say that the stress level can just be ratcheted up, just like with everywhere else when you're trying to travel or go somewhere throughout the city or at any other airports. So we appreciate all the staff and what they're doing here. And I'll jump right into this multimodal charging station grant. So we were notified by a consultant, CNS Engineering, I believe, is the consultant that was chosen by the Michigan Department of Transportation's Office of Aeronautics to do a study. And the study was focused on multimodal charging stations. So even the consultants weren't exactly sure at the beginning of this process what it was going to look like. So they took a study type of approach. So 3 general aviation airports and 2 commercial service airports were chosen as finalists throughout the state. So if you think of roughly, about 175, just under 200 airports in the state, a majority of those are general aviation, but we're chosen as one of 3 general aviation, 2 commercial service airports. They're not sure if there's going to be a grant for general aviation, a grant commercial service, or just one grant for one of the five selected finalists. So we are competing against those other airports to see which airport would kind of be a best fit for a multimodal charging station grant. You can see kind of actually by the picture here of what exactly does that mean. Well, think of a bus or some kind of electric vehicle could pull up to a station and charge, as well as you could use that charging station for ground support equipment. So think of tugs, bag belts, some sort of support equipment that is used to help support the aircraft that are being loaded or used or towed or even fueled here at the airport. And then hopefully along the lines or somewhere down the line in the future, hopefully the short-term future here, you could possibly have some electric aircraft as well. So that's what the state is kind of looking at here, is kind of this initial, okay, investing some funds in just really kind of a charging station. So there really isn't a lot in terms of, it's a lot of concept. There really isn't a lot of, okay, do you have this size site available? A lot of it is, what do you currently have available? What do you have any charging stations at the airport available? Do any of your tenants have charging stations? Does the airport have any ground support equipment that's electrified? Do you have any vehicles that are electrified or hybrid type vehicles? And then obviously, do any of your tenants have that? So you could think of a traditional airport where you would say you'd fly out of Detroit and you'd see Delta Airlines. Well, they might have, a traditional aircraft, but it might be serviced by a bag belt that puts your bags on. Maybe that cart is electric. Maybe the tug that it uses to push back or bring it up to the gate is electric. And then maybe obviously some of the buses that they use for transportation, or some of the vehicles that they might use around the airport, or even some of the trams that you might see are electrified. So that's kind of what you're maybe used to seeing here at Battle Creek. We don't necessarily, as the airport or as the city, have electric vehicles currently, but it doesn't mean that isn't in our future outlook. So we've got that ALP process going along. A part of that could be some electrification, either stations, support equipment. So we might have areas where we would set aside for either future electrification, or possibly tenant space having some sort of electrification, or some type of multimodal station where, if you could imagine, vehicles would pull up to some really terminal space, and then they would get onto their electric aircraft, and then meanwhile their vehicles are being charged there, or the aircraft is being charged there. So think of it really, yes, as that multimodal space that currently we don't have, but some of our tenants have electric ground support equipment. Some of them have electric vehicles, electric tugs, electric charging stations. So that all fits into what the state is looking for, and what the consultants came through last month and really inventory to see what we currently have and what we're looking for in the future. So we're obviously very excited. We're, again, one of 5 airports. We weren't given an exact time period, more of a range of possibly first quarter in 2024. So they have been to, the consultant has been to each of the 5 airports, answer or asked questions, gathered more information, collected inventory on, again, the tenants that are there, whether they're airlines or somebody like the College of Aviation, Duncan. Even the Air National Guard has plans to electrify a lot of their current fleet of vehicles and provide charging stations. So we'll see. We're not sure. They're not even sure that the grant is somewhere in that $80,000 to $100,000 range. They're not sure if it's just going to be a couple of charging stations. They're not sure if it's going to be, and again, think about it from the state's end. They'd like to see this go forward into the future, into some type of electrified advanced aerial mobility, but no one really is sure what that looks like yet. There are a lot of prototypes out there, but in terms of somebody having an airport where you hop on an electric bus that takes you to an electric aircraft that flies you to another city with electric aircrafts and electric buses, it doesn't exist quite yet. That's all still obviously in the conceptual and preliminary stages. So I give a lot of credit to MDOT and the Office of Aeronautics for putting this study together, just seeing what their airports around the state have. And we're very excited to be one of the finalists for that. I hope to have, as soon as I hear what the results were, I'll probably email this group just so that we don't have to wait until March if I do find out before then. If I don't, obviously we'll wait and see. But yeah, we were very excited about that. We're not necessarily sure again what that's going to look like. We're hoping that these funds can again get leveraged to provide really future building blocks on other investments that the state has given us in 2023 and even the FAA possibly given us in 2024. So we're excited. And does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts about that? I know it's kind of a new piece that I haven't brought up before, but it really just came out in October, and then the consultants came out here in November. So does anybody have any questions or comments on that? All right. Well, I'll keep everybody up to date. Like I said, on when I do find out what the results are, we're hoping, like I said, sometime early next year, but not exactly sure. So I will keep everybody up to date on that. Going into the air traffic control tower competitive grants, most of you probably remember we were selected for 2 of those grants, about $750,000 worth of grants to replace the generator at the air traffic control tower, as well as the airfield lighting control monitoring system. So those projects are already underway. We did put in, so there was another round of competitive grants. This is the 3rd round. There'll be a fiscal year 25 and 26. So there'll really be 2 more rounds after this. So the deadline was December 1st. So that was Friday. We submitted 2 grants. This number should actually say 600,000 because I wrote this prior to the actual submission. We added a few more things on, but they're 2 grants. One is to replace the elevator. So we're running into some issues there, and it's original to the building, so it's 18 years old, getting older. So we're looking to replace the actual elevator and any of the infrastructure that we would need to do that. So that's one project. The other project involves updating and repairing the actual tower itself. So there's some crack sealing that's coming undone and coming apart. So really taking out the current crack sealing that's there, replacing it, and then replacing a lot of the cab environment. So the operational, think of where you would think of the traditional air traffic controllers working. That's really always usually at the very top of the tower with the windows. It always has a cool view. So replacing some communication equipment up there, possibly some weather equipment, window shades, that whole cab environment, and making it better and safer for the operators and the air traffic controllers up there. So we'll see if we get selected. So we were obviously selected last year. I have no idea if we will or not. It's part of the competitive grant world. We're hopeful. And the way it worked last year, I got a phone call, I believe sometime in January, asking to prioritize the grants that I had sent in last year. And then I was kind of unofficially told in March, and then we'll get official notification April 1st, and then we can start that process sometime. The deadline for it was June 30th last year to get everything completed that we needed for all the paperwork to finalize the grant. So hopefully sometime late next summer, if we do get selected, we'll see some of those projects taking place. So we're very excited about that, though. It's always nice to hopefully get some federal money to replace and repair the needs that we have at the tower. So any questions with the new grant applications that we just sent in?
I don't
No,
have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Amy. Just curious, if we don't get those grants, are there going to be a need for us to kind of put some capital forward to do some of these repairs and upkeep on the building?
Yeah, so we did, great question. We did have talks earlier in the year about that and budgeting for that and putting those in to really future requests. I had mentioned that we really won't see these grants until the end of June, early July, and then even that process takes another month or 2. So that really kind of coincides with our capital requests and our capital planning. I would say they're a plan right now, Nate. You know, it's always I would put them towards the top of the budget requests, and then hopefully, you know, get the approval when that happens. So yes, the FAA wants you to have what they call a capital plan in place, and we do to the best of our ability, where we go, oh yeah, we'd make a request in the next couple months here once we do get into this budgeting season that we go in. Our fiscal year runs from July to June. So that really actually coincides with these grants. And the short answer is most likely, you know, theoretically, yes, there'll be a request in place. And, you know, just to give, you know, folks, and I should have mentioned this, so thanks for asking that. It's not that the elevator we have put some money into and have had to make some repairs to some of the electronics in there. It's not, it won't affect operations right now. We're not seeing like what we saw with the boiler and the chiller a couple of years ago, where it was like, hey man, this is going to shut us down. I don't see any dire straits at this point now. Even with the building repairs, you know, we've gotten some quotes for that already, and we think we got a decent start ahead of that, where we wouldn't be able to do any of the work this time of year anyway. So yes, we do have plans in place. Yes, we plan on putting them forward for capital requests regardless, because I'm going to need to pitch those before I even know what the results of the grant are. So I won't know until April, but I'll really need to have that capital request before that. So they're going to be on there. And if you've ever seen how those goes, I get to hopefully bring people good news where, hey, thanks, I requested the money, it was approved, but we got federal funding for it. That's what happened with our ALCMS last year. So hopefully we can have the same thing going forward. And the same thing with that communication and kind of environmental cab equipment up there. It's nothing right now that needs to be replaced, but it is stuff that's getting older and stuff that's definitely a little more expensive. So that's why we thought it was a good opportunity to put that in there.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. And Amy, did you have something?
That's so funny. That actually was my question.
Hmm.
If we were going to have the funds. But I'll just say this, as long as I have the floor, I think it's fantastic how you're keeping an eye on these grants that are available to us and trying to get that money so that, you know, we're definitely guaranteed, well, not definitely guaranteed, but if the grant comes through, we're guaranteed not to have to use other funds.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you also for, you guys are both kind of filling in blanks here too. It's 100% federally funded. So thanks for that, Amy too. And it does help, obviously, you know, having federal assistance with any type of project, but these ones especially. There's $20 million that they put aside each year. So we've had the first 2 years go through. This will be the third year. It is you know, out of the 175 airports that are competing, it seems to be a very, very competitive environment, because every year they get I don't have the number in front of me. It's tens of millions of dollars that are requested for, you know, nearly $100 million that get requested every year, and there's only 20 million available. So yeah, we're hopeful, because these projects have been funded before. Elevator replacements, you can go online and see what projects have been approved over the last 2 years. Elevator replacement and cab, you know, they call them minimum equipment list items. So think of radios, light gun, signals that are used up, so the actual light gun itself, tower or shades for the windows. All of those items that we requested have been approved before, so we're hoping to use. We're hoping those keywords get picked up on and used. So yes, I appreciate that, and we're trying everything we can so we keep our eyes out and you know, use as much I hate free money or federal assistance as we can. I'll just call it that.
Bill, is there a match requirement for the grant or no?
There is not, Vester. Thank you again. I keep missing stuff. So 0 match requirement, 100% federally funded. These are great. So that generator that we saw was about $550,000, and that ALCMS was just about 110. I think 112, $110,000. So we saw just a little bit below our $750,000 worth of grants that we were approved for. We didn't have to pay a dime for those. We wouldn't have to pay anything for these as well. Great questions, though. Thank you for helping me out. All right. So the next piece, and I don't think you guys can see my Zoom screen down here, the little toolbar, but I did just want to briefly go over some of the feel good stories of 2023 because I think it's important, and I want to do a better job. That's one of my goals for next year is to keep especially this group, but folks in the community informed about some of the things that are happening here at the airport. Everybody obviously knows about the beautiful air and balloon show that we have, and everybody does a great job to put that on. It's a massive, massive undertaking by, whether it's tenants having to kind of slow down or shut down operations for a couple days, and folks in the communities having to deal with the traffic, and then folks here at the airport having to actually put it on, and the exhibitors themselves, all the stuff that they do. So that's obviously known, I think, pretty well throughout the community. But we did have some really cool things take place here at the airport that weren't as well known. And I put the links to them. I believe they all worked. They all worked when I did. If you have that PDF, they're all available. They're in green down here. I won't click on them now just for the sake of technology. I know something will go wrong and I'll lose everybody, or my computer might explode or something. But if you want me to resend you any of these links, absolutely just let me know. They're all in the public domain. This came from the 1/10th PR section. So Operation Bruiser was really cool. It was 2 MQ-9s. So these drones here, when you think of drones, I know people might think of a football-sized drone or even something the size of a small table. You can see it really well next to this A-10. So this is they're both current military equipment, but this is, an attack aircraft that has been used in the military for over 60 years now. And this is the MQ-9, which has only been used for about 20. They're really almost the exact same size. You can see, the engine that it uses in the back here, the size and length of it, the wingspan of it. It's an enormous aircraft in terms of a UAS. So it was able to fly in. 2 of them were able to fly down from Alpena. They were controlled from the folks here in Battle Creek, in the space that they have on the actual airspace, or on the actual airport. I'm sorry. Flown down from Alpena and landed here at the airport, taxied to the ramp, and then 2 A-10 aircraft. And if folks are familiar with these or not, these were actually formerly stationed here in Battle Creek. They're now over in Selfridge on the east side here. And these MQ-9s are currently controlled here at Battle Creek. They fly all over the world. And the operation was the first of its kind, of the first ever to take place here in Battle Creek, where we had actual A-10s and actual MQ-9s come in. And they really did kind of, the Guard does a great job of describing it, but they basically took munitions off of one aircraft, put it on another, and took fuel off one aircraft and put it on another. So it's a very, very, very complicated operation. I can tell you just from the parts that I was involved in, the airspace and getting the MQ-9 from Alpena down to Battle Creek took a massive amount of, a massive undertaking and a massive amount of communication with the FAA, the control centers, the control tower, the folks in North Dakota, the folks in Alpena, the folks here in Battle Creek, the folks in Selfridge. It was a huge, 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 massive, operation for these guys. And it coincided with their Northern Strike operation that takes place up north. And it went off, as far as I know, without a hitch. I was able to be there on the ramp with some other folks, and it was just phenomenal to see. So the link is, again, in that PDF that I sent out to everybody, or that Penny sent out. If you'd like me to resend it, or if folks are just interested in it and they want to hear more, I can certainly send that out to you. But that was a great, it was a beautiful day in August. It was a great time. And it really just shows that kind of military presence that still is very prevalent here at the airport. Even though we might not have these MQ-9s here, they flew back to North Dakota where they were actually stationed. If you look at the picture, though, they did paint the tail with the Battle Creek 1/10th wing on it. So that was really cool that they were able to do that for the airport. And they'll continue to remotely operate these MQ-9s. The A-10s will continue to be stationed over in Selfridge, but we're hoping, and I know I don't want to speak entirely for Colonel Kramer, but he's doing a great job of bringing in these types of, physical pieces of metal, these actual aircraft over to the airport, and still maintaining a military presence here. So I thought that was a fantastic operation, and again, went off without a hitch. So credit to everybody involved in that. So any questions on that one? I thought that was a really cool piece. All right. The next one was, again, still, I threw this in here for a couple reasons. One, I'm a WMU alumni and a proud College of Aviation alumnus. So every time the College of Aviation, just think of it like any other extracurricular body, football teams, basketball teams, volleyball teams. They have a flying team, and their region really consists of colleges of aviation within Michigan and Ohio. So Ohio State, Bowling Green, University of Ohio. They compete against them in a regional competition, and winners are then eligible for the national championship. And this year it'll be over in Wisconsin. So Western did a great job. They swept the flying and ground-based events. So I always like to brag about that. But I think it's also important to note this, because it is I think an important marketing tool that folks don't even know about, folks within the community or folks that may be interested in aviation, that there are these types of competitions and that there are these types of opportunities. You can certainly come out here and see when it does happen. It was really cool. I remember Miles and I were just sitting here in the office, and we saw planes from Ohio State, Bowling Green and Ohio. So you've got all these planes from, these two states coming in and competing, and we had the whole parallel shut down for them during that time. So it was over a several day time period in October. Western does a great job of communicating with us, and we worked with them. And, we even had a little post meeting afterwards to say, hey, you guys do have this. They do it every 5 or 6 years or so. This regional competition, the airports kind of rotate through. So we made sure that if there was anything else we could do for them, we could help them out. But I put the link on there as well. It kind of talks about the team and where the students are from, and it's cool just because it's an event just like, as in my mind, as big as a football game or a basketball game that the university would hold, but no one really knows about it. But it's here in Battle Creek, so you can certainly, if you're interested in it, I can help you reach out to the College of Aviation or the folks over there. But I did include a link in there, and I thought that was a really cool event to sponsor here at the airport. So, we did whatever we could to help out with making sure everyone was safe. The airport was still in operation, and we were able to have this flight competition take place. So I thought that was really fun and cool as well. But any questions or comments on that? All right. And I don't want to forget about the last one. So throughout since last October, Duncan, if anyone's been over, either driving on Columbia or up here on South Airport Road, they've probably seen this structure come out of nowhere. And I gave Nate a heads up. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but he can definitely throw in some pieces if I forget something or if I miss something. That's really kind of in the final stages, and I won't, say too much more. I'll probably pass it over to you to Nate here in a second here. But it's been phenomenal to work with Duncan over these, this last year. We have weekly meetings with them. The guys, the airport staff does, and Penny, everyone does a great job here on the airport and ensuring that Duncan has everything they need from an FAA standpoint, a state standpoint, an operational standpoint. It's a huge undertaking to put that amount of new ramp space in, that size of a hangar in. So we congratulate, Duncan, and I'm very excited for that to come online. But Nate, did you have anything that you wanted to share or bring to the group? And don't worry, everybody, I gave Nate a heads up last week that I might call upon him. So he shouldn't be too surprised by it.
Oh, thanks, Phil. No, this is fun and exciting to talk about as well. Especially with all the work and effort that went into this. The support from Phil and the airport, BCU, the state, the city. This has been quite a few years in the making, and we're just excited to get that hangar online. As of right now, we're looking at probably the end of January for when we get keys to the building. We're going to take a little bit of time to transition into that hangar because we're going to utilize that and resurface some of our existing hangars at our location. So we're going to kind of transition to it over a few month period. But we really, by the end of the springtime, May, I would say, this hangar should be up and fully operational. And we've been doing a lot of hiring and a lot of just preparation for the opening of that, and we're sitting in really good shape. And the contractors have been wonderful to work with. They've been hitting all their milestones, and luckily we haven't hit too many roadblocks when it comes to supply chain. We've had some challenges there, but as of right now, everything is still on track for the end of January. So, yeah, exciting stuff, Phil. And we're working on planning on nothing to really announce yet, but we're going to be probably planning an open house sometime in the spring once we get fully transitioned in there, and just trying to open it up to the community and host some tours and kind of just some meet and greets and kind of discuss what our plans are for the new hangar and what our goals are. So good stuff. Thanks for teeing that up.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nate. Does anyone have any questions for me or Nate? Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Nate. And yeah, we'll look forward to anything you guys have in the future. If they want to coordinate through us or anything, just let us know. But that's awesome.
Absolutely. I'll keep you posted. Perfect.
So that leads me into really next year, and I'll share during the next advisory board meeting some of the numbers that the airport have. So, fuel flowage, how many gallons of fuel at the airport supplied, the number of operations that we had, some of the other pieces that went on in 23. But I really wanted to give everybody a good idea of what 2024, like I said, was going to have as what we consider kind of really building blocks for other elements. So that ALP is going to be really the focus. We're going to see a lot of effort going into that from our end. The consultants are really going to be putting out some feelers in January, if they haven't already, to meet with the tenants and talk about what their goals are and what they'd like to see going forward over the next 5, 10, 20 years here at the airport. So the ALP is going to be a really big item for that, either in March or June. We're not sure yet. It depends on how much information the consultant has. The consultant's going to come to this group and take a good 30 minutes or so and inform the advisory board on what they've done so far, what they're going to be doing in the future, and then really what that final ALP is going to look like. So they're not going to have all of the information, but they're going to be able to give us a pretty good idea of what the finished product is going to look like. And that'll happen sometime, we're hoping in mid 2025 or so. It's really about an 18-month process. They started it in September, so we could see that Q2 probably of 25. So the ALP is going to be a big feature on that. You guys are probably maybe going to get tired of hearing me saying that, but every update I give, there's going to be something else to focus on, and something's going to change and new updates are going to arise. So it's really going to be a living document. It's going to continue to evolve, and we're very excited about that. Some of the development here at the airport, obviously, there has been focus, not just on the west side, but really UAS and AAM, that advanced air mobility feature, and how general aviations are going to be looked at as kind of the spearhead. And we, Battle Creek, we see us as really the tip of that spear for aviation. So with that comes, some difficulties with the FAA still having to pass legislation that's going to allow for the future of advanced air mobility to really thrive. So we're still waiting on that, but we're still looking into, how to develop the airport for its current needs and its future needs. So we're excited for that. That electrification piece, obviously, we'll see what comes not only from this study, but other future opportunities, whether that's for grants or development with current or future tenants. And then the airport infrastructure itself, so runways, taxiways, the tower I just talked about, earlier in the presentation, not losing sight with what we currently have. So the airport, I don't want the airport to reach so far into the future that we're losing sight of what we currently need. So the pavement may need repaving or repainting, the maintenance of signs, the maintenance of the airfield itself. So whether that's grass cutting, snow removal, maintenance equipment that we have, we don't want to lose what we currently have or degrade that so much that we're now having to spend, way more money than we should have to if we were just doing a good job maintaining that. So we want to keep that in mind as well as we go forward is to maintaining our current infrastructure and our current equipment. Obviously, we have the Field of Flight Air Show and Balloon Festival that'll still go on as scheduled. I believe always around the 4th of July, but I'm not sure if the dates are out there officially yet, but that'll be over the 4th of July week this year, because I believe it's going to be during the middle of the week. So it'll be the weekend and weekend. Then obviously we'll be turning 100 years old next year. So the airport centennial will happen next fall. We'll have events leading up to that. I'll give TR isn't here today, but Penny and TR will continue to come to the group with updates on events that we'll see throughout the 2024 calendar year to get prepared for the eventual centennial celebration in the fall of next year. So any questions on the either the 2024 outlook or the airport in general, or anything this year, or anything maybe you're looking forward into next year? I can just open it up to the floor if anybody has any questions or comments, because that's the end of my presentation.
Field of Flight is July 3rd through July 7th, 2024.
Oh, thank you, Penny.
Mhm.
So 3rd through the 7th this year.
All great news, Phil. Appreciate the presentation. I love the projects that are on the horizon that are coming forward, and a grant opportunity. I'd like to, say thank you for your leadership and a lot of good success and a lot more to come. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dusty.
Yes, I'd like to echo that too. I know, Phil, you haven't been in your role extremely long, and you've already, really kind of moved kind of all the things that you started off with this committee forward. And it's just exciting to see all the energy and activity, especially the community engagement. I do have one question, and I had someone approach me recently about like kind of what more can be done around aviation careers. And I believe, just given Nate, as you were talking about the hangar and some of the other, I know, Duncan has done some work in particular around, ensuring that, there's talent and, things like that. And so I wonder, it's probably a little bit outside of kind of the scope to some degree of an airport director, but someone asked me, for example, recently about, a flight school, what is it, more like a private pilot's license. And then, relocating to, I believe it was Willow Run, they were looking at actually taking the courses versus how I believe Western is set up here. That some other folks talk about. I think even part of the Centennial discussion around, getting kind of youth engaged in aviation related, projects, jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm wondering if you've heard something similar, if there are folks who are kind of interested in exploring that more and more detail around the airport.
Yeah. So a couple things to that, and great question. Thank you, Alana, because I get those questions too. So I feel free if you ever want to forward those to me. I'll do the best that I can to help. I think I'll try not to put her on the spot too much, but Penny does a fantastic job. She's really when it comes to community outreach, I think she goes above and beyond what any airport really that I've seen or that I've been a part of is involved in. A number of schools, extracurricular activities like Starbase over at the Air National Guard. I'll just kind of kick it over to you, Penny, to just explain some of the groups that come through or individuals. And then after that, Alana, I can, definitely help you out if there's some names or contact information. But go ahead, Penny, you can kind of fill in some of the things that you do with that.
Thank you. With the community outreach, I know that is a big goal for our department and the city to kind of engage our community members. I know that the Centennial Committee is working hard towards that project with the celebration next year. But with that, we're trying to, bring more students in. Annually, I probably get a dozen to 2 dozen in the spring and the fall. We bring them into the conference room or our multipurpose room here at the airport. And I have a lot of hands-on things that we do with the students that gets them thinking about careers in aviation that might not be pilot or mechanical. We partner with Duncan if need be to get them set up for tours over there. Waco's not quite ready to open up for facility tours. We have partnered with WMU and the College of Aviation and offered groups to come to us first and visit, and then go over to Western and kind of partner with them. We include a trip over to the tower if the tower is available that day. And we have about a dozen to a dozen and a half T-hangar tenants that are here on the field that volunteer their time to bring their personal aircraft over to show our students. And then they get to ask questions for, a local pilot and get some engagement in that way. Phil has allowed me to come into the classrooms, so I have gone off site with some of our pieces of taxiway, lighting equipment, decoys, and some other things that we bring into the classrooms. And then we also work with the Calhoun Area Career Center's Aviation Exploration class. Nate comes to some of our stuff over there as well. And so we're engaging with the youth in that regards. And those are the juniors and seniors for local school districts. And they ask a ton of questions that are job and industry related. So we are reaching out. Obviously, goals is to get them thinking about it now. So when they get to that high school and junior college or collegiate level, that they have a better understanding of options if they have to make a sudden career change, or just they start something and it's just not a good fit for them. So we've really tried very hard to answer all of their questions as they come.
Thank you, Penny.
Mhm.
Thanks, Alana. Thanks, Penny. Does anybody else have anything?
I'll just make a quick comment with regards to Alana's question too. And I think it's really important that we all do our part to try to, be out in the community and just help our people understand what's going on at the airport. I'm from Battle Creek. I've been with Duncan for several years, but I'm still amazed with the amount of people in our community that truly don't understand what we do at the airport and the operations that are there. So I always love to have the opportunity to talk to students, young ones, but just our community as a whole, just to let them know and understand what it is that we're doing at the airport. So I love that, that groundwork, and there's just a lot more work that we could be doing to promote our industry and our airport.
Thank you, Nate. And I mean, this makes me also think, and Phil, what I'll do, because there was one request in particular around doing a more kind of formal program. I'll just make a connection, and then maybe this is a conversation for a later time to really talk about, like what are the options for, there's some proactive work that we can do. Nate, I'm thinking I had an amazing time visiting your facility. I don't know, that's probably 4 or 5 years ago, and just being so impressed and in awe of your work. And so, we may need to think about are there some, kind of what you're doing, Penny? Are there some other things even with our workforce system? And I have a couple of thoughts, but I can definitely follow up with you, Phil, or Nate. We can talk too. So
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anybody else? All right. And I do have, I'll pull up the agenda here. Sorry. I can share the update, and Penny can jump in there as well if you'd like to share anything else. TR isn't here from the Centennial Committee. They're plugging away. They're trying as hard as they can. If anybody is interested, whether that's just an interest to see what the group is doing, or they want to be a part of it, or maybe they want to donate it to the fund that's been set up, or there's any questions on it, they can obviously contact me or Penny. I'm sure TR would also be fine with fielding any of those calls, but they're continuing to work. They meet here monthly. Penny goes to that. I've been going to I think I've been to the last 2 now. So it's tough because there's so many things they want to do, and within the time frame that they have, they're just trying to figure out what's the best venues that they can attract people of all ages to get out here to the airport, some of the events that they want to host. And they'll be not just here at the airport, but throughout Battle Creek as we really get into 24 and they really start to see some of those events kicking off. But do you have anything else to add on that, Penny?
With regards to the centennial, no, but we are finalizing some fundraising things this week. And the next committee meeting, I believe it's next week, but I can double check real quick. I want to say it's the 14th. Yes, it's the 14th at 10 a.m. at the airport here if anyone wants to attend the next committee meeting. And follow up to Alana's question, I can send you some of the stuff that we use with the program here if you're curious.
Yes,
this-
please, Penny. Thank
Okay.
you.
Awesome. And I believe that's all Penny and I have, Alana. Unless there's any other questions for me.
Nope, I think that's pretty much it. So, as far as the next meeting date and time, I am wondering, because kind of few of us are here. Phil, when you are you planning to send out an update via email? Because I'm wondering if we should send out the dates and let people choose, or how would you prefer to do
Yeah,
this?
we can certainly do that. So what we could do, maybe even I'll send up an initial one here this week, just an update for everybody. And then we can send it out before the holidays and maybe have it due sometime in January. We kind of do a poll or some kind of hey, do any of these dates work for folks? I know again in that March time period is kind of spring break now too. I know my wife already wants to plan something that first week in March, end of February, early March kind of time period. So I know folks that time can be kind of tough for people, especially as we get closer to Easter and spring break for each different grade that they have. So we'll certainly send something out if that's okay with everybody, just to say like, hey, what can we do, or what's the best time for everybody, or if it doesn't work for a majority of the folks, what are some other alternate dates? If we have to do it on a different day of the week or a different time, we can also fit that in as well. But yeah, we'll send something out, Alana.
Awesome, sounds good. Are there any members from the public that would like to comment?
We have no one in the waiting room from the public.
Thank you. Are there any additional member comments? Okay. With that, we are adjourned. We will cover any voting items and we have quorum during our next meeting. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. And thank you, Phil and Penny.
Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Penny.